Hi, welcome back to the workshop for episode 10 of the Rickenbacker 620 12 string build, and in this episode we're going to continue with the work on the maple drop top for the body. Okay, so in the last episode we got this top glued up and we got it kind of roughly cut to size and shape, etc. And in this episode I just want to kind of get this a little bit closer fitting and also have a look at what we're going to do to get the binding routing done on these areas where we won't be able to get to once everything's fastened onto the neck. But before I do that, I want to just take a little bit of time to go back over something that I did last week, because I've got it wrapped right round my neck. I've made a complete cock up here, and I really don't want people to go away with poor information. So after I put the video up last week, within a couple of hours someone put a comment on, a guy called Michael, saying that when I put the two bits of wood together and flip one of them round, that is going to actually magnify any error that might be there once I plane it. Now I've got a little bit of a golden rule in life, and that is, if you're interacting with someone, you should always assume that they might know something you don't. So when Michael said to me that I've got this wrong, instead of getting all defensive or ignoring it, I basically headed back down to the shed and did a little bit of experimenting, and lo and behold, he's absolutely 100% right in what he was saying. So I'm just going to very quickly demonstrate what I mean by that. And what I did was I took these two little offcuts from the top that I cut down, I put them together, I flipped one round, and then I put them in the vise. And then I planed them. But what I actually did was I planed a very exaggerated angle onto them. And then I took them out of the vise and I flipped it around again. And I put them together. And as you can probably see there, there's a massive angle. They are in no way anywhere near flat. So clearly something's gone very wrong with my technique there, hasn't it? However, it only took me a matter of seconds to actually figure out what happened. And basically it's this. What I should have done is just pick my two bits of wood up with the outside faces on top, folded them over, no flippy flip, and then put them in the vise. And then what happens is, regardless of what angle you plane onto there, so you don't have to worry about it being square, you just have to worry about it being straight. Because when you take them out of the vise and fold them flat, the two angles will cancel each other out and they are absolutely spot on flat. As soon as I worked that out in my head, it all came flooding back to me, and that was the technique that I'd always used in the past. I've got no idea where the flippy thing came from. That's just obviously something I've added to the technique at some point and it's stuck. So massive apologies for that, but I think it is really important that if I'm doing something wrong, I will acknowledge that and I'll try my best to put things right. Okay, cringing apology out of the way, let's crack on. Okay, so getting back to the body, what I need to do now is establish a way that I can kind of, at least temporarily, hold all of this together so we can establish exactly what shape we need for this body top and get it a little bit closer, because it is quite a way off in some places, and then we can also then kind of route these two areas away for the binding channel. I don't think there's a really easy way of doing it, but if we look at the drawing, we do have an opportunity, because where the pickups are, the routes actually go past the edge of the neck section. So we've got a little bit of area either side of that where we could locate this and hold it all together without damaging any of the top that's going to be on display. There is quite a large area because the pickup is a lot bigger than the route, but I would much rather have any kind of temporary damage that I do routed out so there's no sign of it whatsoever once we're past that stage. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill this and put some screws in. I'm going to put 2 screws in each pickup location that will hold the 2 halves of the body exactly where I want them to be. That should be strong enough to get the work that we need to get done at this stage done. Now, you might wonder why I don't want to glue the top onto the two wings independent of the neck section and then glue it all together, which would leave me kind of roughly what I'm trying to achieve here. My reasoning for that is that I actually want to put some good lateral clamping pressure onto these wings when I glue it all together. And obviously if the top is glued onto that, we haven't got the facility to do that quite as much as we would like. So to move forward, I think we need to get some measurements off the plan and start marking out on this top for where we're going to be able to drill those holes. And according to the plan, the neck pickup is 18mm from the end of the neck there. And in fact, I'm just going to put a line on that centre line in pencil just so I can see it a bit better. So that's the first pickup. And the bridge pickup is 140mm. And we'll just square a line across there. And the route is actually 70mm. So I'll get my little centering rule on the job. So now, in theory, as long as I drill a hole on those lines within those little marks, that should be material that is going to get removed. But before I do that, I want to make sure that these wings are clamped in the right position relative to the neck. So we'll do that first and then we'll get onto this bit. Okay, so that's all clamped in position now. Luckily, I still had these offcuts, which has made clamping a little bit easier, I think. So now we'll get this in position. It can only be positioned one way at this end. That kind of cutout I had to put in is really tight to the neck, so that's not going anywhere. And then I just need to make sure that I'm properly lined up at the other end of the body. And I'll just put a clamp on to make sure that that's not going anywhere. And then I've just got some tiny little screws there that I'll put through the top to hold it all in position. I'll just use a 2.5mm drill bit for that. Of course, trying really, really hard not to go all the way through. And I'm also just going to countersink them so that we haven't got any lateral pressure when we drive those screws in that might split the top. And with that done, I'm going to get it out the clamps. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to clamp these two bits of wood actually across the top just to give a little bit more support while we're working with it and get this marked out so we can get it trimmed down a little bit closer to where we need it. And as we can see there, that's given us a much better idea of where we need to be with this top. So I'll quickly double check this just to make sure we're in the right place and then I'll get this to the bandsaw, get it trimmed down, get it onto the sander, get it as close as we can. Realistically, I'm only really interested in these areas. The rest of it can be a little bit off until we've all got it glued together. I'd much rather wait until it's glued together before I do anything around the edge of it, because if we get this slightly out, we've still got a little bit of material left to play with, so we can slightly tweak and adjust. Okay, so ready to route this, and means I can use something that I've wanted to use for a little while now, and this is my new Radian Tools binding cutter set, and this enables you to cut rebates at 0.75, 1.25, 1.75, 2.25, 2.75 millimeters, which is kind of where we want to be. And you can tell it's brand new because it's still got the plasticky gunk on it, so we'll get that off. So we'll just get that set up in the router. I'm going to actually do a little test cut on a piece of scrap just to make sure I've got the right size bearing on that. Okay, and hopefully you can see there that has made an absolutely beautiful job of that. That cutter is super sharp. I left a really clean edge, which is exactly what we want. Now that has actually been quite a lot of work just to get those two little areas routed, but it's achieved a couple of things. Firstly, it's got that kind of potential pitfall out of the way and dealt with successfully, which is brilliant, but it's also really helped me understand future steps forward with this project. So while there was a lot of messing around to get to this stage, I really do think it's been worthwhile. Now from here, we've got several places we could go. We could route the rest of this body, get all that cleaned up, push on with those things. However, there's a lot of work to be done on other areas of this build, and getting some of those done will actually help me move forward with this part. So I'm going to take a step away from this now and going to continue with the fretboard, but that's going to be in the next episode. So as always, like if you've liked, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.